Start recording. Got it. Okay. So for the benefit of people, we are recording this session so that we can put the recording on the SharePoint for your future references. So in case you want to listen back what we had been talking, and then some of the topics that were to be explained here, you can always listen to that. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. So we're going to have this session, the PM training session, basically containing of 6 subsections. The first one will be introduction, which we are going through right now. Then there is a stage gate process where I will take you through the stage gate process, different features of stage gate process, how we navigate between different gates, etc. Then at 2:30 or maybe a bit earlier, we will be having status reporting. And then at 3 o'clock, we may have portfolio health. Both will be presented by Ayushi. Then we'll have a small break at 3:15, which will facilitate 2 things. One is for you guys to grab a cup of coffee, and for us to stop the recording, then restart it. Because of the size of the file that gets generated, we need to have a break. At 3:30, we have the cost estimation module. And around 4:30, you'll have risk and issue management. Salita will be taking care of that. Cost estimation will be a joint effort between Anthony and me. So that's the agenda for today. Okay. If you all settle down, then let's get going with the introduction of the EPMO, how and what we want to achieve by EPMO, etc. Next slide. Okay, so here we are. The leadership had a strategic vision, including project excellence, right? So after Jishan has joined us as the CIO, he brought in the EPMO concept, where we will have the centralized project management services that includes the project managers, schedulers, controllers, and the operation staff. So this is to provide the specialist skills to the project teams, so they will be handling the projects in a more focused and specialized way. So this is to build an IT EPMO organization and the toolbox that is provided for the robust PM planning and execution. Provide portfolio visibility and oversight and escalation. So standing on that topic, right, I wanted to explain you what exactly we are trying to achieve here. The project managers will be trained properly, will be provided enough hand-holding so that they can do the project management activities. Earlier, the project managers were doing even the scheduling activity, the cost controlling activity, forecasting, accruals, invoices, payment, etc., etc. So now we want to slowly take that out of project manager and make the project manager focus on the rest of the activities, like the architectural design review, security related architecture, the design documents review, the testing part of it. So that focus is required because some of the projects face some issues on those angles, and the schedules and cost controls will be handled by the specialists like scheduler and the cost controller. So the methodology that we wanted to say is have a right-sized tailored PM method. The governance, the playbooks, portfolio management, health reporting, etc. It is not only how we start a project, we want to also focus on how the project is implemented, how the project is reported to the senior leadership team, and how the risks and issues are covered, right? So we want to have an all-round approach to the project execution, and that's what the EPMO framework is going to provide to the project teams. The organization, like I said, is the EPMO organization that is going to provide you with the specialized resources. All you project managers will be a part of the game. The schedulers and controllers also will be with us to do that. Automation. So we are trying to simplify, standardize, and automate as many processes as possible that will help the project managers so that you don't have to worry about what happens next and how to proceed from one stage to the other stage. Sorry. and what needs to be done at each of these stages. So we're trying to standardize the templates, simplify those templates that no duplication or redundancy happens, and also try to go for automation where the data flows from one document to the other or one stage to the other automatically instead of you people trying to recreate the data in the system. Okay, so these are some of the strategic thinking that went into creation of the EPMO organization in PSEG IT. Next slide, Arthur. So this is the methodology that we wanted to adopt. You remember that we used to adopt waterfall methodology in 2014, 2015 timeframe, and then we moved on to product model where we followed agile methodology. With Jishan coming in, we thought that we should not be sticking to one particular methodology and try to fit the project into that methodology. Now we should be flexible enough to the project team to decide about what they want to do. Either they want to follow waterfall, or they want to follow agile, or they want to follow iterative methodology. So, but whichever methodology they follow, they have to follow the artifacts, deliverables, reviews, and approvals according to that methodology, right? So the overall concept is more or less the same, except that we are trying to reinvent the way we are doing things. We don't want to fit everything into one particular mode or method. So the first is the idea and plan, which we used to call as a project planning and initiation. So this is where we are going to look at various things like a strategy, intake, the business cases, prioritization, and resource capacity planning. So we are trying to lay a good foundation for a project to be executed in a successful way. So this is the one where we are going to lay the foundation for the project. Think deep, come up with the proper explanations, understand the requirements as deep as possible, and then come up with the costing, right? This all is being captured in the business case. After of that, then we go for execution and guidance, where we are going to do the delivery management, capability management, quality management, and change management. That means these are going to be the phases. Generally, we call it as a design, and then development phase and testing phase, correct? So we're going to have those activities that are executing the project as such into execution and guiding. The next stage is the manage and govern, where basically you want to push the changes into production and then govern them, right? How do you want to govern each of the stages and see that the proper review process happens, the proper deliverables are met, approvals are taken, moved into production, and then after production, how we manage the changes that went into production. Then the last one is the monitoring and improving it. This is in a continuous improvement mode. A project might be executed very successfully, but there could be some lessons that we would have learned on it. So bring it back into the project execution next time. So if you missed it, there is nothing like, every project will be 100% perfect, but we continuously learn, right? We learn, we improve. It could be on the tools or on the continuous improvement mode, or even the value realization. We thought we will add value by going in one method. We may be, ending up understanding that may not be the method suitable for executing the upcoming project, because we learned something from our mistakes. Okay, this is a conceptual idea that we wanted to bring in for methodologies. I'll just take a break here. Anybody has any questions, or shall we move on? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Aarti. Okay, so the journey that we wanted to have for the EPMO starts with a good foundation step, right? So what do we wanted to do? So way in last year, mid last year, when the EPMO concept came, everything was new. Not new, but we were revalidating ourselves, realigning ourselves with an EPMO concept. Okay, that how an enterprise project management office works, how are these different specialists that are coming in are going to form that the team, and then how they are going to add value to the project execution. So we have engaged KPMG to come up with an appropriate and more sustainable and suitable model for us. So that's where the stage gate process has come up. Stage gate process, I won't say that it is a completely new invention of methodology of doing a project, but it is a more refined version of doing projects. Okay, it also facilitates at each of these stages what needs to be delivered clearly defined, and then what needs to be done to pass a gate, right? Between the stages is called a gate, and how do we pass that gate, what needs to be provided at the gate, and who needs to review and who needs to approve, so that the project moves to the next gate. So this facilitates us not only in a clear and well-defined planning the deliverables, get the reviews and approvals, and then move to the next stage with the proper validation at the gate. So this way, we have an inbuilt mechanism for proper planning, proper execution, proper reviews, and proper governance. So that way, the stage gate process is really taking us to the next level of maturity, with all the defined deliverables, guidelines, templates, processes, etc. This does not mean that we are becoming very strict in terms of making every project go through it. That's not the concept. The SGP is more flexible in terms of adaptation, right? Though it gives you the broader framework, but it also gives you the flexibility based on the project size, complexity, the criticality, importance, prioritization, and the budget. It gives you the flexibility to maneuver yourself in terms of different categorizations and then get what should be finally be handled. It also provides you the new roles, that is the scheduler, cost controls, and also focus on the risk and issue management much deeper than we were doing earlier. So the journey started somewhere like in the early or the second quarter of last year. We engaged a PN team, we brought in schedulers and controllers, we trained them, multiple training sessions were extended to project managers and to the schedulers and controllers, deployed onto various projects, introduced them to the projects, and then finally we are seeing the value addition for these projects coming in through these roles. Like I said, this is a journey. We have not said that we have reached the end of it, we have just started it. Okay. Next one, Narthi. So the journey started with the org unit that was defined by Jishan. So we have a senior director, Rich Brenton. He joined us. And then there is a director role for EPMO. As a lot of you people are aware that Rich Brenton has two major towers under him. One is the EPMO tower. The other is the TMO tower. Okay, EPMO stands for the Enterprise Project Management Office. The TMO stands for the Transformational Management Office. So Transformational Management Office is going to handle the major projects like all the energy cloud, clean energy efficiency projects. Those projects are handled under that particular tower because the requirements and the need and the control is completely different. EPMO is the structure that we are going to discuss here for the details. So we have three sub-towers under the EPMO tower: operations, scheduling, and controlling. So we are going to talk about operations, means basically to give you the processes, the support needed to execute those processes, and then govern you people, help you, train on all these. That's operations. Nicole Johnson, Upasana has been the manager operations. Nicole Johnson is the manager for scheduling. Basically, the schedulers all report to her, and they basically take care of the project resources and cost scheduling, resource capacity planning, integrated planning, and reporting. So the basic idea of the scheduler tower is to bring in the interdependency between the projects and tie them together so that we will have an integrated view of the projects. If in one project something gets delayed, how it is getting the impact onto the other projects, how they get delayed. So proactively, we can look at that and start addressing those risks and issues involved in that. Manager cost controlling is basically on the controllers who are going to be responsible for all the budget management, accruals, then financials of the project, anything that is additional funds required, the change requests, justification documents, etc. So as you see, these are not going to work in silos, though they act upon those tasks, but they work in tandem with the project manager and the group product manager to execute a project. And operations team is there to support these people with the needed guidance, processes, knowledge, training, etc. Okay. Hope the org structure is clear, and at least I brought some clarity on these different roles. Okay. Next slide, Aarti. Okay, these are all the explanations that I gave you. That what is a project manager and a scheduler and a controller. You can read through this deck, but in nutshell, that's what it is. All these three roles work in tandem. They are as a team, but they perform their specialized skills and specialized activities and join together to provide the needed specialist EPMO support to the project execution. Next one. So like I said, SGP is not only a framework that is designed for the benefit of project execution, but also we wanted to make it clear to the team members that these schedulers and controllers, when they are coming in, they are coming on with a cost attached to them. Right? Their hours need to be accounted for, and then we have to pay for those hours. So in order to see in a thumb rule that we followed, this could change. Again, I said this is only an indication and indicative picture that you can use in your cost estimations. If the project is approximately a $15 million effort or more, that means it is a huge project. So that means we expect a full-time scheduler and a full-time cost controller needed in order to keep the project on trail, right? That may or may not change the picture, but again, I said that based on the project requirement and the need, these can change. But these are like the guidelines. Between 5 millions to 15 millions, you expect dedicated resources again. But the previous one, like I said, 15 millions and above, you have to have the dedicated resources, maybe even more than one. You have to discuss with your group product manager and the directors to come up with the proper resourcing for the projects. So the pyramid keeps going in an inverted way. So if you look at the informal gated projects, which are small in nature, routine, and continuously being done over every 6 months or every year, which may not need that much of involvement from a scheduler or a controller perspective. So that may be like they spend a 2-hour period per week in order to keep things in control. Like a schedule is there, they come up, they update the schedule, they present the schedule, and they are good. Because there is nothing that specialization that is being executed on a routine blankets or miscellaneous projects. So look at this slide for some of those cost factors that you need to factor into your cost estimates. Okay, this is like a thumb rule, but anytime if you find that you need to have a discussion with us, we are open. You can contact us and we can take care of that. Okay. Next slide, Arthi. So all the artifacts and the information and reference material is stored in an enterprise project management office SharePoint site. And the links are provided for your benefit in the deck. If you want, especially, we can share that link with you. You can go inside. It is open for all. You can go into the artifacts, but please be careful that when you are using some of those artifacts, don't try to change them. Okay. Download the copy into your desktop or in your drive, shared drive, and then you operate on that. Do not start operating or updating the templates on the SharePoint site. Okay. So we wanted to give you the facility and the flexibility, but a word of caution there also. This site has all the artifacts that are required for a project manager to adopt for executing project both in waterfall, agile, or iterative approach, and has the guidelines for moving between the stages. Okay, what needs to be done at each of the stage, how the scorecard has to be filled in, etc., which I'm going to talk in the next section. Okay, next slide. So these are some of the supporting resources for you. We have an IT PMO office hours, an open to all type of interactive meeting. You can dial into that at 10 a.m. On Thursdays. Open up with your questions. Any question, any help, any assistance that you need, just join us. We will address it. Then you can log off, and then we'll be addressing as many questions or as many sections as needed in that particular hour. That's the email address that you can use in order to interact with us. And then any questions that we have, you can always go through the service now. Put up your comments or any inquiries that you have, then we will be able to come back to you with proper justification or answering for the particular thing. If any assistance needed, we'll reach out to you either in person or over email and then provide the needed assistance. Okay, next one. So that's the end of the introduction section that, I wanted to basically orient you towards what is EPMO and how the EPMO is going to be a value add in the execution of projects, etc. Okay. So any questions or anything that you want to revisit? Okay, just let me take a pause here and see if anybody has any question here that also templates on the source that we are not going to use them going forward. Okay, Sheila, I'll answer that. Please change your information, display first name, last name to ensure that, okay, that's in a direction. Is there any invite I can save in IT here? Okay. So there are templates, you're absolutely right, Sheila, that we have on the project templates on the source, and we have templates on the SharePoint site. So there is a big effort that is going in to clean up the whole thing, right? Not to create any more confusion. So we have started an initiative where we are going to clean up the data, and also we are going to create a brand new section in the source that pertains to EPMO. Okay, it's in progress. That will be one-stop shop for you guys. So you go into that section, you will be given all the content, all the templates, and all the needed reading material for you to follow. The links, everything will be established from that section itself. So you don't have to look at the EPMO SharePoint site anymore. The links will be brought into the source, and then you will be driven from there. And all the updates will be done to the EPMO content then and there. So it's only one-stop shop for all of you to go. The effort is on. Till then, I agree with you. There are certain templates on the source and certain templates on the SharePoint. If you, most probably there is no redundancy. There could be one or two documents which are common there. So if you have any doubt, just ping us. We will direct you to the proper template. Okay. Okay, so having completed the first section, so let's go to the second section where we're going to take the next level dive about the SGP, right? The stage gate process. So as you all know, the name itself suggests there is a stage and there is a gate, right? You had to pass through the different gates for moving from one stage to the other stage. At each stage, you are expected to go through some tasks, some activities, some deliverables that need to be reviewed and approved properly to cross that gate. Okay. And when you complete that, automatically it makes you compliant with all the artifacts that need to be delivered. And this is the most comprehensive framework that we have come up. But again, this being a journey, we are going to refine it. No, we are not like a static phase that, okay, we have defined it and this is for it. No, we are not there. We are still evolving into the next level maturity. And we are trying to take inputs from a lot of other teams. Okay. If you look at a simple example is that if you take SGP as a core central process, there are a lot of processes that go around it, right? Example, security, right? Our cybersecurity team comes up with their own processes that need to be incorporated while we are executing a project. Similarly, integration team, they have their own processes, but they need to be consumed and adopted by project teams while executing the project. Same thing happens with the procurement, same thing with the legal. So what is happening here is the SGP being the core process, it accommodates all these interfaces between the other teams. Like this is like a hub and spoke, right? You have the main planet and then the planetary things going around it. So those processes are going to be interlinked into SGP. So the SGP process is going to be, accommodating more and more such interfaces, interactions between the other team members. As we evolve to the next level maturity, this is what we're going to do. When we rolled out in October last year, we basically focused on a bare framework. But then came the security team. They said, we need to improve the security aspect of a project execution. You are welcome. So we took those processes and adopted them. Same thing happened with the integration team. So I'm going to talk about all these things and how you can, instead of getting overwhelmed with all these things, how you can adopt those things and how can you stick to one particular thing. So stage gate process is the key guide for successfully executing your project in IT. So this is like, again, one-stop process that you look at it, you will know what to do and how to do things and what templates you have to use, etc. Okay. So this is a foundation and a framework that will guide you through the gates and through the different stages, to the end of a project and what to do after the project is executed successfully too. Okay. Again, I'm saying that SGP is not like a one size fits all. Okay. We have defined the framework, but the project team has the liberty or has the flexibility to come up with a customized SGP for themselves. We did not give too much of leeway. Okay. You cannot simply say that, okay, I don't want to do any artifacts. That's my customization. Sorry. That's not the freeway we gave. There are certain rules, certain regulations, but depending on the complexity, the size, the prioritization, the importance of the project, the regulatory aspect of the project, you are given some flexibility to go around and mark some of these deliverables are not applicable or applicable, and then take those templates and use them. Okay. So this is the first screen that we are seeing, introduction to the stage gate process. Next slide, please. So this is an overall stage by stage, the picture of SGP for waterfall. Like I said, we are not restricting you to only waterfall or only to agile. Okay, we are trying to be flexible. It is the project team's flexibility to go and discuss with their project sponsors, business teams, to see that I feel now adopting a waterfall is going to be a lot more beneficial here, or say that in an agile methodology where we will be delivering you in sections, in phases, in pieces, so you can realize value and then also refine the way we go forward. So it is your discussion or discretion to talk to your business counterparts. The bottom line is, what is the business value that we are all bringing to our lines of businesses, right? That's what it is. If delivering the entire project in one big bang approach, then go for waterfall. If you feel that the requirements are evolving, we are not there to define the entire gamut of requirements, then you better cut it down and put it into an agile methodology where you adopt the sprint method, that you adopt the requirements or user stories for that sprint and then move to the next sprint and release it. Okay. At each of these stages, you see there are the milestone activities that you needed to do. And then how do you move between a stage to a stage to the gate? I'll tell you in the coming slides. But as you can see, there are 7 stages, right? And there are the gates in between numbered with 1, 2, 3, 4. So you start with create concept, develop the business case, project initiation, develop the initial design, formalize the design, direct and manage, and then post deployment. As the name suggests, most of these processes are create concept means you just have somebody from a line of business saying that, okay, I want to implement these requirements for me. Okay, that's a basic requirement. Picture has come up. Then you create a concept out of it. Okay, you want these things. When do you want them? How do you want to do that? And what is the solution we want to do it? Very high level. And what are all the risks and issues by doing it and by not doing it, right? And then how much it is going to cost. So in the create concept, you start the business case document. You start initiating, entering the data into it, have multiple discussions with your line of business, with the technical teams that you feel need to have the inputs into the project. Then once you have the business case document started, start reviewing the document with appropriate peers. It could be EPMO team, it could be your lines of business team, or it could be the security team. You have to start discussing with them. The second stage is the develop the business case. This is where you firm up your inputs, firm up the requirements to the best extent you can get it, and then what would be the approximate design, what is the approximate solution that I can implement, how many resources I want, what are the risks and issues, and how much it is going to cost, and then provide the business value as in one document. Present that document to the BCCT, the business case challenge team, where our IT senior leadership team, they all are present and they start asking questions about that particular initiative. And they will also ask you about the prioritization. Why do you want to do that? And what happens if it is postponed to next year, or if it is not even required at all because there is some other initiative that is coming up which is similar act. So there could be from multiple dimensions and angles the questions will come. You will be presenting your project and answering all those questions. If it is successful and approved, then you go into the third one, that is a project initiation. If by any chance the approval was not given or the project is denied, it will be either parked or it will be cancelled, that you can bring it up next. If there are any technical clarifications that are needed, then you provide them and then you get the needed response from the senior leadership team. EPMO team facilitates all these activities to your benefit. You can reach out to EPMO team and then we will be reviewing your document. We will be refining it to the satisfaction of the senior leadership team members. Once we go into the BCCT, if there are any doubts, we capture those points. We revert back to you for needed explanations, and then we facilitate the entire review and approval process. Once the BC is approved, it goes into project initiation. That means we officially move the BC into a project. Right? As you know that we create a PRJ in ServiceNow, and then accordingly that PRJ data is synced up with SAP. We create WBSS in SAP, map those WBSS to the client accounting, and then release those WBSS for your use. That entire activity happens in the project initiation. While this is happening, the project team gets engaged with the procurement for negotiation about the vendors, about the scope of work, about the various requirements gathering sessions and initial design sessions. Whatever you want to conduct, the project team is conducting those things. And based on the budget that is approved, project is created, the controllers will start stepping in and they start doing the forecasting also in ServiceNow. Schedulers will be interacting with the project teams to get the project scheduled, prepared in P6, right? So multiple activities happen in the project initiation phase. And once those project initiation steps are done, then you move to the next stage, which is develop initial design. This is where you start becoming a lot more focused on the requirements and the solution that is going to be implemented with coming up with initial design. This is where you will engage the security team, the integration team, and to understand how the solution is going to be as foolproof as possible, right? That it is 100% or more than 100% complying with the security requirements, integration requirements, and the architectural reviews, and all those things happen in the initial design. Because of these involvement with these teams, your solution may start taking different shape, right? The design can change. You can come up with better ideas and better design. So you are in a transient stage in this stage. But once you are reaching the final stages of these discussions, your design starts firming up. So you will have a lot more clear design that can be presented to both security and architecture team, and also within the project team, like the SAP team, that you can come up with the best solution that is possible. And by then the vendors are engaged. The vendors can get the ball rolling in terms of the scope of work. It could be a fixed cost, or it could be time and material, it could be staff aug, and you have the templates are all defined properly, so start engaging them. The next stage is the most important piece of the project, is the direct and manage. You have got the requirements, you conceived the design, then you finally implement the design with the help of the resources that you either got from contractor, the vendor firm, or within the PSCGIT. You complete it. Then here you engage again the testing part of it. The design would have given you a lot of insights about what types of testings that you have to do. So be highly proactive in order to get the testing properly defined, right? A lot of times I have myself observed that testing is one aspect which we take it for a grant. Just get out of that idea. Think that testing is an independent value adding step that need to be given its due importance. So you have to think through various types of testings: the unit testing, performance testing, system integration testing, penetration testing, then culminating into UAT, right? Define the test scripts properly. All those things will be happening in this stage. Once this is all done, you do your production acceptance procedure, and then present it to the change management, move to the post deployment. And you have 3 months of warranty where you go through the process, check the data loads happening and the changes working properly. If not, any defects and bugs that have been identified, you get them done. So I just navigated you through the 7 steps, which you all know because you're all project managers and you have a lot of experience on handling projects. But we just wanted to see how SGP is slightly different, more refined approach to the project methodology. The same thing, if you look for Agile, the next slide shows you the Agile methodology. So this is the same thing, and most of it aligns with the Agile concept and the methodology. Basically the first 3 remain the same. Then starts a typical Agile way of approaching things, right? You plan, sprint release, and then refine it, come back and do the next sprint. After multiple sprints, when you are having enough the minimum definable deliverables, then you move them into production. Is a release. Then come back and do that till all the user stories have been addressed. So the rest of these steps will remain the same thing, but like I said, we are giving you the flexibility to decide which way you want to go. Either it is waterfall or is it an Agile way, okay? It is your choice. But once you decide, stick to the framework that is defined over here, okay? Any questions till now? Okay, so let's move on next one, Aarti. Okay, like we say that all the templates and the checklists and the deliverables, definitions, reference material is all on the SharePoint site as of now. Okay, so please take that with that word, that as of now. The SharePoint site, and that gives you the whole gist of even the training material. You want to refer to your training material, it is all there on that. Okay, so this is a site which will be like your to-go help all time when you want to implement a project methodology in SGP way. Okay, next one. So SGP process, like I said, also gives you the flexibility to categorize yourself, right? Based on certain criteria, you can categorize yourself. Thereby, it is not mandatory that for every project, all these artifacts, all these gates, reviews, approvals are must. So depending on the criteria that you evaluate as a project team, you have the flexibility to come up with a customization, a tailoring matrix for yourself. So the SGP tailoring matrix will help you to understand, based on your project, based on those parameters, what needs to be taken in and what can be categorized as not applicable or not, useful for the way you want to implement the project. Again, I said, you have to be giving justification for any task that you don't want to do. Okay. It is not free like thing that I know out of 10 things, I don't want to do 10 or I don't want to do 8. No. When you pass the gate, at the gate, you have to explain why. Why do you think you don't need these 8? If you don't have the proper justification there, then you are asking for scrutiny, right? So flexibility is good to have, but let's not misuse it, right? Just not cut the corners and try to make an easy way. So look through the project, look through the process, adopt the process as it is needed to the best value that you can bring to the business. That's the bottom line of the whole thing. Okay. This categorization matrix, everything is available on the SharePoint site. But as you can see, one of the examples that is given there, for example, if you have a project that is less than $500,000, but it is highly visible and risky, right? So that means the dollar value has no meaning here, even if it is $500,000 or even less than that. But if it is a highly critical project that need to be done for certain reasons, it could be a regulatory requirement, it could be security requirement, or it could be an integration requirement point of view. If this needs to be done, then it becomes a formal gated project. Okay, I'm introducing you to the word formal gated here. The meaning is a formal gated project need to follow the SGP to the core. That means all deliverables are mandated. Okay, so this is the strictest way we can say to adopt SGP for a project. That does not mean that it is that crazy that you can't pass through the gates. No. That's not the idea. The idea is you are expected to maintain that compliance about all these artifacts and all these reviews and deliverables. And once you follow them, it is very easy to navigate. As long as you follow that, there is a template, fill in the data, review it, get it approved, you're good to go. Okay, there is effort involved, but that effort definitely outweighs the benefit that we are going to get out of it. So we had to look for the benefit that we are going to get, because it is a highly regulated, highly risky, highly impactful project. Then it is worth spending that much extra time. So take effort, understand your project requirements, configure your SGP using the categorization matrix, and then adopt the particular way you want to do it. Like I said, the framework is there for you. If you are adopting it in total, well and good. If you are not adopting, and if you are trying to feel that some of the tasks are not required, prepare a justification for it. It is not like a formal big document that you have to prepare. You have to prepare basically why you feel, or why the project team feels that this task is not applicable for executing the project. Okay, and that needs to be presented at the gate. So think that every gate is going to be like a check and a point where you have to provide all these details to pass through the gate. Okay, next slide, Aarti. So this is the overall guidance for you in order to see what methodology you can adopt. Now, like I said, the flexibility is in your hands, but still there are some guidelines from us. If you want to look at them, then you can adopt these things and accordingly select it. So I'm taking a couple of them, not all of them. So changing requirements, like I said, if you cannot firm up all the requirements beforehand at the start of the project, and you think the requirements are evolving or will change as you look to the solution or the business benefit, and the business is also thinking about it, then adopt agile methodology. That's a very simple common sense, right? If you can say, I know what I want, I don't want anything other than this, done deal, then adopt waterfall, right? Because the rest of the steps can fall into that particular methodology. So use this, the scenarios and attributes for SDLC consideration. And sometimes we keep using this word SDLC, PDLC, very, very loosely. But overall thing is how we are going to execute a project. Okay. Next slide, Arti. This is the categorization matrix that I want you to go through for every project that you either handling or you are going to handle. So we categorize them based on certain criteria, but these criteria can change. Though it is a $200,000 project, which falls into the category 4 or category 3, which is the internal informal gated less than 250K. But if it is a security related project, no discussion. Right away, it becomes a formal gated project. So it is you who will be defining, and this is where is going to come up the help of other teams. You remember the one I said in the initial design phase, you are going to involve the security team, the architectural review team, so that you don't have to make a call on that if you are not sure. Those teams will help you to come up with the gated, what gated should be. Is a formal gated or a informal gated project? One of the parameters is the budget of the project. If the project is more than 500K or $1 million, then you automatically become a formal gated project. That means you follow the gate SGP to the core. There also, again, even if it is $1 million and above project, but if it is a routine project, okay, let's say, for example, you are changing servers in 30, 40 or 100 servers you are changing, right? There is nothing really that impactful or risk in that you are making, you are installing a new server in place of an old server and migrating everything into it and putting it up. I'm just taking an example. Don't go strictly with this. It is all your project requirements. Based on that, you have to see whether it is highly risky or highly impactful, or is it a regulated requirement, then, and the budget, then decide which category you fall in. Okay. There are two major categories. One is a formal gated project and then an informal gated project, and miscellaneous and annual and routine projects, right? So anything that is formal automatically follows all the artifacts. Informal gated projects have a little bit of leeway in terms of giving justification for certain tasks need not be taken up. For routine and miscellaneous projects, which are like day in and day out, we do it like every month, the patching is done, right? So what the routine way you are doing it. Okay, then some upgrades you do. Every 6 months or every year, we do the upgrades. So such activities, your GPMs are definitely at that position that they can guide you on that. But once you decide which way to go, then you adopt the review, the artifacts to the core. You don't start jumping from one to the other and saying that I thought this, I thought that. Instead of that, be clear in the beginning, adopt a methodology, adopt the categorization, and proceed with those artifacts and the stage gate process. Okay, next one. So the tail ring, like I was telling you, you have different tail rings, for the development life cycle of the project, which my methodology you want to use, and also the categories, so that you can start adopting or customizing the SGP to your project implementation. Okay, you can read through this material and then you will understand more. Any more in-depth knowledge you want to get out of these things for a particular situation, that your project is having, now just reach out to us. I am not saying that we are addressing all types of scenario situations that our 200 plus projects in IT are being discussed or addressed. Okay, so you may have a completely different picture of a project. So share with us. We will be with you to assist you to navigate yourself through the project. Next one. So these are pictorial representations of what we have been talking here, right? The waterfall flows in one single pipeline, whereas iterative process is up to the design stage, it is there, but then firming up the design and then building and deploying goes in an iterative way, but still follows the waterfall methodology. That means it is not considered as a user story or sprints and all that. It considers as a requirements and flows through the process. The agile methodology is a pure adaptation of the iterative approach with the sprint concept. So you have sprints, you have releases, you have user stories that will be adopted, prioritized to each of the sprint, then execute them in a circular way. So this picture in the pictures you all know, just brought in for recapping the knowledge. Next one. So this is the overall tailoring picture that you have. So if you can go and then look for your project and see what is adopted and what is not required. But if you look at the formal gated project, like I said, to the core, all the artifacts are required. Okay, every task, every step is required. Slowly, when you move to the right, you are relaxing things, but with justifications. Okay. And then when you come to the last one or the last two, miscellaneous and routine efforts, it's the most relaxed situation because of the nature of the engagement that we are going to have for the project. Okay. Next one. So this continues. As you can see, most of these tailoring that is happening over there. Next one. So putting back, SGP into frame, right? So though we have an SGP framework, we have categorization, we finally customize the whole thing, but you have to follow approval process, right? To go to cross the gate. Like I said, every gate is a checkpoint where there are certain approvals required for you to move to the gate, to the next stage. So how do we do it? We got what is called a scorecard process. Okay, the details are given next slide. Just move to the next slide, Arthi. Okay, so this is the scorecard process that we have. There is a SGP scorecard on the SharePoint site. Just download it and look at it. It is a self-explanatory document. Nothing great that you need an assistance or a help there. It details you at every stage what needs to be done. Okay, and then based on your inputs there, yes or no, the score is calculated. Either you are 100% compliant or you are less than compliant, like 80%, 60%, 65%. Anything less than 100% means justification needed, right? Why? Why are you not 100% to move between the gates? If the justification is there, then you are good to go. How do we decide that? So prepare the SGP scorecard, present it to the EPMO SharePoint site, send an email, and then the EPMO team will review your SGP scorecard. And then if everything looks good, you are 100% every time, then there is no problem. You keep on moving. If it is less than 100%, then justifications are to be given or not provided there, then we reach back to you for justification. And then based on that, do not confuse between what I'm using the word justification to the justification document. Okay, justification document is a completely different aspect. You all know as project managers, that is for any schedule or cost change. We use justification document. Here is instead of using justification, maybe we can use the word explanation. Okay, you have to explain why you are thinking 65% or 85% of your SGP score is okay to move to the next gate, next stage. Okay, so you need to have what is called an explanation if your score is less than 100%. If you are 100%, you don't need to have. But be very, very careful that when you are presenting the information, you are truthful. Okay. If there is a step to be done, please do the step, review it, get it approved, and then move between the stages. Because we also going to conduct audits. Okay. The projects that are moving between the gates may be showing 100% and go to the next stage, and then to the next stage. And then when we audit, we'd find some of the artifacts are not complied with. We are going to generate what is called non-compliance report. And being on the non-compliance report is much worse than doing the task properly. Okay. So a word of caution to all my co-project managers that follow the process, follow it. Any help assistance need, we are always there, but do not circumvent, do not try to cut corners and move things around. Okay. Next one, Aarti. So this is the scorecard as such. You are looking at it. Just keep going. Slides, Aarti. Yeah, this is what you see, the percentage. At each of these stages, you need to have a scoring done. At particular stage, you can see that, pending review, approved and all that. If you are 100% every time, then you keep moving between that. But again, you have to complete the process. You have to submit your scorecard to EPMO team. You have to complete the review process. And then once you get an okay, then you can go on to the next. But again, just I am reiterating it. Flexibility is in your hands, but don't misuse it. Okay, next one. So this is a scorecard that continues. Next one, Aarti. Yeah, keep going.
This one is done.
Okay, so that is the last slide for the SGP process. So just to recap, SGP is a refined framework provided to the project management team here. It has a flexibility of customizing to the project requirements and the nature of the project. And also it is adaptable for both waterfall and agile methodologies. And it has the clear-cut definitions of what needs to be done at each of the stages, and to pass a gate, what needs to be done. The scorecard, how to do the scorecarding and how to present the scorecard to various reviews and approvals, everything is there, well defined on the SharePoint site. If you need any help or assistance, you have a couple of ways to reach us through the EPMO mailbox or through ServiceNow, or coming and attending to that Thursday meetings with us so that we can clear your doubts. Okay. So with that, I will look for any questions anybody has. Otherwise, we will move on to the next section.
Lynn, there's one question in the chat that is effective today. Should templates in the source not be used? So should PM use the templates located on the EPMO SharePoint only?
Your priority goes to the SharePoint site. If you have the same template available on the SharePoint and on the source, use the SharePoint one. Okay. But if you do not have something on the SharePoint site, then go to the project templates. I'll tell you an example here. Okay. Production acceptance document. I think Sheila, you are going to that. I know that because we had the discussion on that. So production acceptance document is there in both the way, on SharePoint site and on the project templates. So as I said, the rule is to go to the SharePoint site, download that and use it. Okay. But if you look at the SOW templates, so you don't have them on the SharePoint site, but you have them on the project template site. So go to the source. Okay. Hope that clears the air here. Sheila? Okay, silence is yes. Let's take that way. Okay, so now having completed the EPMO orientation overview, SGP overview, now let's jump a little bit to the regular tasks that we expect from the project managers and the project team. Okay, so this section is, and the next section will be dealt by Ayushi. Ayushi, all yours.
All right. Hi. Thank you, Naren, and good afternoon, everyone. So project status reporting. As the name suggests, it means the status report about your project, how you are doing on it, and what help you need, and what is the visibility that you would like to bring on the project through your status report. So before I deep dive into how to do it, how to manage it on weekly basis, I would like to highlight few of the key things that we expect in this whole entire project status reporting. So it's advisable and it is expected that you are being transparent and truthful while maintaining these reports. So if you see, and by that what I mean is, if you are anticipating any risk or issue that is going to impact your project, it is advised to turn the related indicators to yellow or red, instead of reporting on it as all green, and then suddenly going to an all red status, because that in that case is appears to be that something was going on in the background which was not as transparent as we wanted it to be. So transparency is the key. And the second thing is to think through. So whenever you are submitting the status report, and I will deep dive, as I said, you are reporting on the problem that you are facing, right? What is the status of it? But you also have to say that what is the mitigation steps that you and your team are taking, what are the key risks, and how will you come out of it. So if it is yellow and it is red, what are your steps to turn it back to green, and what help you require from SLT, uh, so that they can help you in the appropriate area. Maybe it could be related to vendor, it could be related to resources, scope, and all those individual things that we'll be talking about. And another thing, the understanding here is, even if a project is yellow or red, it's not a reflection on you or your team. Sometimes that happens, which are due to some factors which is not in hands of anyone like us or you. It is due to some external factors, which is like, for example, there is another project which is going live at the same time, and some of the key resources are shifted to those areas. So then you have to unwantedly you have to make your project yellow because your schedule is impacted, but this is not a direct reason, which was already in your hand. So this is just a high level guidelines that I just said. Now I'll go through the process and I will reiterate all these small nitty gritties that we want everyone, all the PMs to be aware of, right? So this is a flow chart on how it is working currently here in PSEG. As a project manager, we know that you are more aware of the status of the project on day-to-day meeting, on the day-to-day working through your projects, you are more aware. So this first step, it is advisable to do a weekly Thursday meetings with your scheduler, controllers, and the necessary stakeholders. But since you are working on the project, you may be already be aware of what is going on. Once you have like a working group or a meeting done with all your stakeholders, schedulers, controllers, and you know how everything is going, how is your cost plan looking, or how is your scheduling looking, you can go ahead and submit your status report. Now, status report is due on the first and third Friday of the month, and you will see reminders coming to you from the EPMO mailbox to submit your status report on those days by 5 p.m. EST. One thing that we have been observing through the past months are still there are around 20 to 30 projects that miss to submit those reports on that particular day. So it's a request to please be aware of these timelines and please try to submit the report on a timely manner. So once you submit those reports, It is generally the first status report of the month that we extract from the system, and we use it for producing our leadership SLT related documentation, which we will go down. And that particular report and the information that you have in that goes into our monthly portfolio health review deck. In that deck is presented to the SLT on the third Thursday or Friday of each month, right? And you all will be invited to that. There are pre-meetings that happen before that main meeting, where we discuss the main notes that you have submitted, and we finalize and agree on those, and then the final information is created for the final deck. So the reason why this status reporting is very important, because this information is presented at the executive level, as I said, and this is your way to communicate with the senior leadership in case you are looking for any help or course correction on your projects. With that said, I'll go to the next slides, which are the process, right? How it works. Next slide is, yeah, this is on a very high level. You see the start arrow. I believe all the new PMs have access to ServiceNow now. So once you go to ServiceNow, you can navigate to your status reporting portal. You select your respective projects. In there, you will have option to insert a new status report, or you can, update even your previous status report. But for the purpose of status reporting, you have to submit a status report the first and third Friday, which will happen only when you click on insert. That is like creating a new one. So once you are there, you will see that your status report is in pending status, right? And because you are still working on it. And then it will allow you, the tool will allow you to update the individual tabs, which is schedule, resources, cost, and scope. Once you do those, so there are indicators and the options to enter notes there. Your overall status tab will appear, and there you have to update the overall status and the notes. Once you are done, you can click on save. There are additional fields available for updating the risks and issues. Once you do that, you will go ahead and get the necessary approvals from your GPMs. Once you get that, you click save and update. So this is a simple, easy process. This is just a navigation on how to do it. With that said, I can go to the next slides to navigate how it looks like into the system, that is ServiceNow. So the first link here will take you to ServiceNow. So on the landing page in the left-hand side, as you can see here, once you type down project portfolio management, you will see the project status portal showing up. So all that is highlighted for you in case you want to come back and refer to these slides. Once you select that, next slide, you will see projects and my status reports. Clicking on my status reports will show you all the status reports, that are already there for your project, right? And you can see that there are different fields showing up here. You can click inside this report, or you can click on the new button, right? Next slide, please. So once you are here, you click on the insert button in the top right-hand corner. Now you see there are a lot of fields that you see are pre-populated and they will be grayed out, right? So these are coming from your project information and you won't have the ability to update this. Next slide, please. Now, as I said earlier, once you are here, you will see that the report is in pending status because you just started creating it. This is just like a draft copy of your status report. Make sure that your status report, the date that is showing is today's date, right? The system should automatically do that. It's to And once you submit it, that is the date that we get as your latest status report submitted date for our extraction purposes. Now, other than the grayed out fields, these are some highlighted fields that you all should focus on, which is the project team, the details, the dates, and financials. So it is a request that, the dates and financials are something that are also getting reported on the project health review meeting. So please make sure that these are correct. If it is not, then reach out to the operations team and we will work with you to get it updated. Data quality is the key here because these are the key data points that we focus on and we report constantly on. So always keep it up to date and let us know if you have anything. If there are any updates on my schedulers or controllers which you are unable to see, let us know. We are there to update it and make sure that the data quality is up to date.
Ayushi, just I have a small input and a request to all the project managers and GPM here, right? The data that is in ServiceNow drives every further step, right? If your data is good, then we will be able to report or we will be able to generate the needed reports to the senior leadership team or for the project teams, properly. If the data is wrong, that becomes a massive effort on our side to understand why the corrections have not been done. I'll tell you an example. The committed delivery date, which is one of the most important date field on any project. And unfortunately, that is being turned into a most neglected field. Okay, so the dates are in past. Some of the projects have been showing committed delivery dates of 2019, which is just crazy, right? So the request to you guys is GPMs, please drive your project managers to immediately address each of the projects that is under you to the proper dates, right? If their dates have been passed, then immediately you should have a justification document why the date has passed and what is the new date, get it approved and change the date. Because this is a non-compliance issue and we are not able to present proper data to the senior leadership team. That's one. Number two, on the financials, the same thing. If your budgets are not aligned and if you have crossed your budgets, then again, it is going to be a non-compliant issue. So by year, you have to look at your funds approved for that year. If any changes, please get the justification documents quickly and get them now the funds aligned. So this is again a request from the EPMO team to all the group product managers and the project managers right now, whoever has joined, please go back to your ServiceNow to each of the project, check for those two pieces. At least the easiest thing is the committed delivery date. Check the delivery date. If it is in the past, immediately make the correction by following the process. The process is put in a justification document. It's easy to, the document is not complicated. It is a simple document, put up to your GPM for review and approval and go to the sponsor and get it done, change the date. Okay, that will be real value add for downstream applications reporting and further follow. Okay, go ahead, Aishi.
And to add to Naren's point, right? You see half of the information is populated by itself, but when we go to project status reporting, right? Whatever information you are entering, that is what we are extracting. So it's not a system generated portion that we are reporting on, especially for the project health review. So when you are entering the information about your indicators and your notes, be very crisp and concise, as well as be transparent and truthful. And also the data quality, we have been driving it. We do reach out to all the PMs, GPMs on time-to-time basis, to update it, change the committed delivery dates, change the state in phase if they are not aligned with the committed delivery date. Please continue to do so and keep on reviewing in alignment to those key fields, which are the financials and the dates. So this is so these are some key fields that you need to review, including the project manager name and the GPM name, because sometimes there are changes here as well. Once you have reviewed that these areas, we can go to the next slide. We will look into the other areas, which is the indicators that we are reporting our projects on. So first is schedule, and schedule here is, so now you see here the comments are very light, right? This is exactly what we don't expect. We are expecting a more information on why your schedule is yellow, right? What are the reasons that cause your schedule to be in yellow? Is your business aware of it? What are the next steps on turning it green? What are the mitigation risks and issues that you have seen, and what are the mitigation plans for that? And there are some guidelines, if you see in the left, about the status parameters. If you're expecting that your risks are impacting your schedule delivery date by over 50%, then make your schedule indicator as yellow. And do give the proper justification that I was just mentioning, right? If you are 100% sure that the delivery will be impacted, you may have to go for a justification document, then turn the schedule as red. And if there are no major risks, then and all your milestones are on track, you can keep the project as green, the schedule as green, and there are no major comments expected in that area when it's green. But for red and yellow projects, it's definitely required to have the reasons, the next steps, and the mitigation plan, right? So this is for schedule. We can go to the next slide where we are focusing on our next indicator, which is cost. Again, it is showing green here. So there you see there are no comments, which is okay. But if it is red or yellow, this is what we expect, like I said earlier. And then the guidelines are the same. If you see the probability of your actuals going above the total approved budget, and that is 50%, you have to turn the indicator as yellow. And please be, little bit due diligent and think through on these areas, on what are the reasons and how we can mitigate, because sometimes we see that the cost is green but schedule is yellow, and when we dig deeper, when we ask more questions, we see that schedule is impacting the cost too, and cost should have been yellow as well. So keep a mindset of how one thing can impact other thing, right? Your resources can definitely impact both schedule and cost. So going over to the next is resources. Again, resources, again, you see the guidelines are same, but you have to think through and plan, and definitely look at areas where there is an resource overlap. Is there any vacation period or holiday planning, or is there any SMEs which have dependencies, you have dependencies on, or some other teams like infrastructure or other areas? So you need to get a buy-in from them before you start working, and of course see how much availability they have. If there are any resource issues with that will be impacting, you have to make your project as yellow. And same way, if it's a definite impact, it needs to be red. And then we are expecting similar comments in all these 4 major indicators for schedule, cost, resources, and scope, on what are the reasons that are causing the project as red and yellow, what are the next steps in mitigation plan that you are doing on it, and what is the SLT help that is needed. Is there anything that SLT can do to help you? You need to mention that in the comment section. I'll go over to the scope, and then I'll take a pause to ask if anybody has any questions. Scope is similar, right? Are there any scope changes that are happening? You need to highlight, for example, it says additional business requirements. This is like very light comment. It will be helpful if we have more information around it. And what are the steps of making it back to green, right? If the scope change is a showstopper, you have to turn it red. And again, the guidelines are similar, about above 50% probability. So with that said, these are the four individual indicators, and then there is the overall status. Now, overall status again depends on all these four. We have seen in the past that, there is schedule is red, cost is yellow, but overall is yellow. That is not how it should be. If individual indicators are either yellow, if any one of it is yellow, no matter others are green, it has to be yellow. If any of the individual indicator is red, your overall status goes to red. So there is no exception to it. And to help the project managers going forward, when we move to the PTS, there is another tool which we are developing for and moving away from ServiceNow. These indicator rules will be inbuilt so that you don't have to select the overall health yourself. Whenever you do either of those, schedule, cost, resource scope, yellow or red, overall will turn red. But till then, please be aware of this fact that your overall status cannot be green if any of the individual indicators are green. And once you do that, so this is how you update it. And these are the key fields that we extract from your status report for project health reporting and your notes. So not only the indicators we are extracting, looking for, we are also looking for the notes that you are writing, and those notes and guidelines are what I have been reiterating. So those are the key focus areas for everyone. So now I'll take a pause and I want to know if anybody has any questions. All right, I'll take it as a no. So let's go to the next slide. Right. So we do have other areas which helps us to understand the high level of your project, which is executive summary about what are the events that could impact your ability to deliver or in terms of your schedule and financials. But my advice here is to be a little bit concise and crisp, because we have seen in the past that there are 2-3 paragraphs of summary that is there, which is very hard to, for us to navigate. So it will be helpful to have like 3-4 bulleted points, because this report is getting submitted bi-weekly on first and third Friday. So we just want the update from the past 2 weeks. It's not that we want the entire end-to-end summary. We can go to the next slide. Same goes with last week's accomplishment. This is a new section that we have been focusing on to provide more visibility to everyone on how the project teams are working and what are the milestones that they have been able to achieve. This is a very good value add. Also, it will be helpful if it's more concise instead of like a lot of points. It will help us to represent it correctly in the PHR forum. And then this key activities plan is again, you can put a bulletized list of key tasks that you plan for the upcoming weeks. Next slide. Now within the status report, there is an option to update the risks, right? And risk and issues are another set of areas that are getting reported in the project health review. And it's also not about just the project health review forum or visibility around it, but this is also a way for you to document the risks and issues that are related to your project, right? Here you can have a list of all the risks that you have entered in the past. You can revisit those, you can update those, right? If it is not a risk, you can close it. As you can see, there is a state here, and you have the ability to update the other fields as well, right? The probability, mitigation, as well as if you see a new risk that has developed, you can enter a new risk here, and it is a simple navigation, so you should be able to understand the key fields and enter themselves. And you see the risk required these parameters to be completed, and they are mandatory, like cost, description, mitigation plan, and probability. So that is how you enter a risk, and these risks and issues are getting reported in the PHR forum as well. Next slide, please. So now, once your status report is in pending, you will have to get it approved from GPM to set the right level of accountability, right? That he has seen your report and he agrees with it. Once that happens, you can save and update the report, and then it goes into the system for us to extract and all your past status reports. So this is one view of the status for forum form. But you can also go from the project section, and then there is a project status tab where you can see all your past project status reports on how your project was doing. And that also helps us to, see how the project was in the past and do some trending around it. But this is just to give you an idea of the tool. So once this is done, your status report is ready and it's submitted. And all these steps they look a lot when I walk you through, but in reality, they are updating just a couple of tabs. And what is important is what you are entering in the comments section, right? Going to the next slide.
This one is done, Ayushi. We need to go section, yeah.
Yeah, so this is done. I mean, I wanted to say that this flows into our next topic, which is project health review, right?
Yeah.
So any questions, anyone till here?
Okay,
Alright.
so before we move on to the next stage, and as a colleague of you guys, I want to tell you very clearly that this is a great tool or a great way to communicate with EPMO and then to our senior leadership team. So project status report, and I always encouraged my project managers to write the exact situation of this project and what is the ask from anybody, as a help. There is nothing wrong in requesting help from any other team members, right? So until unless you express your success or a risk that is there on the project, nobody will know about it. And keeping things under hide is not a good thing. Be transparent. Like we always say that it is a one team. We all want to work as a team to make things better. If anybody is in trouble or any project is in a bit of requesting help mode, we are all there to help them. But until unless that picture comes out through your status reports, it is extremely difficult for us to assess the situation, right? So please make use of the status report. First thing first, go and correct the data, okay? Go into ServiceNow, look at the dates, look at the financials, immediately get them corrected. And once they are corrected, then your status report becomes very, very important tool for you to communicate with EPMO as well as with your GPM and with your senior leadership team, okay? So please make use of these tools that are available to us. Don't just try to take it, I had to report every week, I will write something. No, that's not the way. These are all important ways and means of communicating with your colleagues, your seniors and the senior leadership team. So make use of it. I'm just reiterating it as a colleague, not that you don't know, but I'm just reiterating it for the benefit of you guys to make use of the tools that are available to you. Okay. Okay, Daishi. Yeah, you can go for the next one. Thanks.
Okay. So thank you, Naren. So this project health review process is a continuity of project status reporting. This will give you an idea or picture of how those status reports that you are submitting are actually getting, massaged and, looked at by us and then reported finally to the project health review forum. Now, just to iterate again that this is not a system generated. It is system generated in the sense of indicators and everything, but whatever you are entering is what is extracted and reported. So be transparent and truthful, like we are mentioning, as well as um, the focus area for PHR is red and yellow projects, which is right in the terms, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing to be in a red and yellow area. This is a way of course correction and help that you can take from SLT, based on what are the issues that you are seeing, and you are asking to get the right help, right set of eyes to look at it so that you can mitigate it and fix it. So this is a high level flow, which looks intimidating, that this is basically for us on how we extract. Mostly it's related to EPMO, how we extract the information, how do we do the assessments. For PMs and GPMs, the important thing is to be on top of the status reporting and submit it on the first and third Friday of each month. Look at the reminders that we send and focus on completing it on time, as well as completing it accurately, concisely, precisely, and with transparency. We also have some areas here where we reach out to Energy Cloud program and get the information separately from them. So that top layer is just for that. And then once we have all this information with us, we do the prep meetings with the individual towers, which is like power, enterprise solution, infrastructure, all those PMs and GPMs, to validate the information and we ask you the questions that we want to, if we see any information is missing, we add it here. And we sometimes ask you to update the status or status report based on what we are seeing there, right? So once we are good with the prep meetings and all the status notes and the statuses, we finalize the deck and we share the project health review material to everyone, including SLT. So this is just a process flow. For your perspective, it's more about submitting it on time and accurately. If individual indicators are not, green, then please don't make the overall green. So try to depict a clear picture with good data quality, maintaining the committed delivery dates and financials. The next slide, we can go to the next slide. So in this essence of time, these are some guidelines, right? How will you, once you are entering the information, what will you think while doing that, right? So this will help you in, writing that synopsis, like what does the cost indicator, is there any change to your scope which is impacting your budget? Are you is your total approved less and your actuals are going above? Is your forecasted dollar more? Sometimes the overall estimate at completion even comes below, very well below the total approved budget. So that is also an issue, why we are spending so much, why we are leaving so much money on the table, right? So those kind of questions you should ask when you are entering the information, because these are some questions we ask when we are in the prep meetings and the main meetings. Same with the change request. There are a lot of projects where the change requests go to 4, 5, 6, and then they are questioned because what has caused so much change in the project, right? Why our timelines or our cost was not is not in alignment now, right? So change request is a big thing. and it needs to be focused that we don't have a huge amount of change tickets. And by change request here means the justification documents that you are putting in the system to change your committed delivery date or to get more funding. So this is project change request, which is the justification document. Next is the resources. Are there any risks or challenges in getting the right resources onboarded? Any issues with the vendor SMEs? What can we do to, get the high priority work done with the right support? So those are some questions you need to ask, and then give the value of your indicators and your overall impact to your project by doing this kind of assessment. So we can go to the next slide where we have a few more. Okay. This is a summary section of that project health reporting forum. All these projects that are currently running, around 100 something projects active, we slice and dice and basically show the leadership different views on where they are. So you see all the data points, especially, let me start from the leftmost. These are some key data points that are getting reported, right? Like your state and phase of your project. What is your budget, right? So you see above 5 million, 1 million to 5 million, below 500K. And then your project type, right? And then your SGP phase, right? Which phase of stage gate process you are. So this is all getting reported. So please make sure to maintain the data quality, because these are the data points that we look at. And this is not only one reporting, there are several other reporting that we do. So it's important to maintain all this in the system of record that is ServiceNow. So the next slide. And this is how finally the deck will look. So once you are invited to the meeting, you join the project. This is how your project will be reported on. These are the key fields that are there, and you see the indicators about your project that will show up: overall health, cost, resource, schedule, scope, and the budget, financials, and the dates, and the project change request count. So that's why I was saying the change request count is an important metric. This is your justification document basically. And you see the gray section down here, which is project status notes. This is where we are capturing all the information about, and these are some previous screenshots. So you just see one line for each project, but actually we are writing more than that. Especially for red and yellow project, we have like whole area where we write down on what is causing this, what is the impact, what are the action item and next steps, and what are the accomplishments. So all that is coming from your status reports. So that is, I wanted to mention that is coming from there. So please maintain it. And that is how it's gonna look on the final report deck. Next slide, I think that's all. Yeah.
All done.
So that covers the whole project status reporting and project health review meetings, which are interconnected. If anybody has anything, let us know. Okay, all right. So I think we are.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. We are good, Naren. No questions here.
Yeah. So I just want to add, a couple of sentences here for this PHR, portfolio health review meeting. This is extremely important review meeting that our CIO and the senior leadership team are looking at. Okay. So your status and your transparency of providing the data and the information about your project is really going to decide whether your project needs any help from the senior leadership team or not. So we are going to please use this forum. That PHR is, again, I'm saying the status report is a way to communicate your status of the project to the external team members like EPMO, GPM, and senior leadership team. PHR is the basis for you to present your case and request the needed help to become green from red. right? Red status is not a stigma. Red status is a situation that the project team needs help or is working through some issues, and that's where they know we all have to step in. But unfortunately, if you do not present it or if you want to hide it, that's going to be an issue later. And also, I want to bring in the clarity here that the PHR, we are going to bring in a trend, as an added feature for the PHR. That means if your project is red this month and red last month, that itself is a big, big alert, right? You cannot be keeping projects in red color for a long time and do not make any effort to convert into green. So the senior leadership team would like to understand why any project is continuing in red status, and that is the trend that we are going to provide to them. So I'm going to give the data N, N-1 and N-2. N being the current month, we're going to give the previous month and the previous month. So a 3-month rolling trend analysis details will be shown to the senior leadership team. So be extra careful about your project. There is nothing wrong in being red, but if you have not asked for help or not projected the details properly, that's where the problem lies. So use these two aspects. Most important aspects is prepare your status report properly after attending to the fields in ServiceNow, the data in ServiceNow. Number 2, when your project is in red, make sure that you come to the PHR with a clear and compact and concise request of what help you need from the senior leadership team. Okay. Hope these two will help you a great way in order to bring your project back on track, or at least report the project details to the senior leadership team. Okay. So I think these 4 sections that we have discussed here, the EPMO overview, the stage gate process overview, status reporting, and then portfolio health review details are all really, really valuable tools and knowledge for executing a project. Okay. So I think with that, we're going to take a small break. Correct, Aarti?
Yeah, we can take a break of 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll take a small break here, and the link will be disconnected. You will be rejoining at about 3 o'clock because we need to do some activity on the recording that is going.
Yeah, 3:05 or 3:10 it could be.
Yeah, so make it around 3:05, maybe, because we have some other topics to cover. So make it around 3:05. Join us back so that we can continue with our last 2 sections of the training today. Okay. Thank you guys, and see you at 3:05 then. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.